India is the land where rivers dance. These rivers are not just bodies of water, they are threads woven into the very soul of nation. Since the dawn of civilization, the world's greatest cultures have risen along river banks. Among them, India stands as the cradle of the most ancient and enduring. The tales of Sindhu, Saraswati, and Ganga are far more than accounts of flowing waters. They are the living stories of humanity's origin. The ancient civilization of Aryavarta and Brahmavarta flourished beside these sacred rivers, with the Saraswati and Ganga nurturing not just life but knowledge, art, and spiritual vision. Even the river banks are the abode of sacred temples and pilgrimage sites, and while the river plains host the magnificent Kumbh Melas, while even many wars, bloodshed, sacrifices, ashrams, education centers, and royal dominions like Indraprastha, Kosala, Ayodhya have all found their place by the riverside. It is said that during the Vedic age, a noble community known as the Bharatas flourished along the sacred banks of the Saraswati river. From them emerged Bharata, a land named after its people. From this land rose the timeless Natya of Sage Bharata, a tradition of performing arts as fluid, eternal, and deeply resonant as the rivers themselves. What connection exists between the river and dance? Many. The river flows not only across the land but also through our art, our memory, and our spirit. A timeless current that nourishes both body and imagination. Even the very word Nadi traces its origin to the Sanskrit word Nadanath, that which flows while producing soothing sound. This Nada or primordial sound is the very foundation of Natya or performing arts, which is a sacred confluence of music, movement, expression, and rhythm. In the worship of sound, Nadopasana, it is none other than Lord Nataraja, the cosmic dancer who is enshrined. Both river and dance become manifestations of the same cosmic rhythm, flowing with grace, vibration, and divinity. The garland of Karanas, which represents both Nritya, that means dance without lyrics, and Nritya, that means dance with lyrics, and its expressions is said to have originated from Gangāvatarana Shiva, the one who holds the Ganga in his mated locks.
Gangāvatarana Shankara.
vocabulary of dance, Gangavatarana holds a reverent position, marking the union of devotion, nature and cosmic rhythm in the form of Gangāvatarana Karana. It is the 108th and final Karana in the traditional movement sequence and stands as a symbolic and spiritual culmination. It is the visual representation of the descent of the divine Ganga from heaven to earth and is traditionally performed at the end of the Karana series as a sign of auspiciousness. With heels lifted and hands in downward facing Tripataka and the head gently bowed in Sannata, this Karana embodies Gangavatarana. Urdhvanguli talau padau, Tripataka vadhomukau, hastau shirassannatancha, Gangavataranam cha tat. It signifies Ganga's devotion at the feet of Trivikrama Vishnu as she descends with unwavering reverence. In this divine descent, both Hari and Hara are present, Vishnu, whose feet she seeks, and Shiva, who receives her fall with grace. This Karana is acrobatic in nature, resembling Shirshasana from the practice of yoga. Its dramatic movement shares a visual affinity with Dombarata, an acrobatic dance form, and also seen especially in Odisha's Gotipuva tradition, where such Karanas are practiced with agility and devotion. Gangavatarana and similar Karanas are also technically described in terms such as Samapadanchita and Urdhva Lagnaka in later treatises like the Natyadarpana and Bharata-shastra Sangraha. I believe that they also form the foundation of Shirobhramanas, head spins and Utpluti Karanas, leaping movements, showing how this Karana bridges the communication of sacred mythology, yogic physicality and dynamic artistry across the evolving landscape of Indian dance. The Natyashastra also describes Dharapindi, a cluster of movements inspired by the flow of the river goddess Ganga. Abhinava Guptacharya also mentions that Dharapindi must be performed using the Gangavatarana Karana. In the vocabulary of traditional Indian dance, river slave, not just as metaphors but as deities, guiding the performer's hand and the spectator's spirit alike. Why does the Natyashastra draw such a profound connection between the river and dance? Because the river itself is a choreography, guided by gravity, inspired by terrain, animated by breath, time and spirit. Like a celestial dancer, the river glides and sways, each ripple a choreographed step in nature's ballet. Its every bend is a graceful Karana. Samapada of the river reflects stillness, poised, grounded, present. The Vidyudbhranta, like a sudden surge, embodies the flood, wild, uncontained, alive. The river dances in curves and cascades, in leaves and spirals, where moments intertwine, carries a story, ancient and divine. Then its each ripples become gestures, its waves become expressions. Its voice is a gentle hum, a soothing refrain that whispers through the valleys, where trees bow in reverence and birds echo in joyful delight. In tranquil stretches, she glides, a gentle maiden in repose, mirroring the sky, the trees, the blossom of a rose. Unruffled, unafraid, she reflects the world's embrace, a moving stillness, a tender, timeless grace. In rapids, she leaps wild with untamed glee, a cascade of laughter, rushing fierce and free. Thus, our ancient wisdom has mentioned specific gates to rivers such as Nadi Gamana and Nadi Sutana that mirror the flowing, undulating essence of a river. Among the many nuanced movements codified in the Natyashastra, Jala Gati and Jala Gati stand out for their vivid portrayal of how one moves through water. Whether wading gently through a shallow stream or crossing the forceful current of a river. These gatis reflect the body's dialogue with nature, fluid, responsive and rooted in terrain. Even in the Natyashastra's Kakshya Vibhaga, that is, spatial divisions on stage, rivers are mentioned to portray them, revealing the deep integration of nature within theatrical imagination.
Ganga Saraswati Sindhu Brahmaputrascha Gandaki Ganga Saraswati Sindhu Brahmaputrascha Gandaki Kaveri Yamuna Reva Krishna Goda Mahanadi Kaveri Yamuna Reva Krishna Goda Mahanadi.
This was carried forward by seminal treatises on Indian dance such as the Bharatarnava, Abhinay Darpana, Mahabharata Chudamani and Bharatashastra Sangraha. These texts go further to codify river-specific hand gestures, that means Nadí Hastas, imbuing the movement vocabulary with layered symbolism. Most often, gestures like the moving Pataka, Sarpashirsha Hastas or flowing Avidhavakra Nritahasta patterns are used to depict rivers in general. However, post-Natyashastra texts go further. That means hastas associated with sacred rivers. They are: the river Ganga is evoked through the graceful movements of the Tamrachuda Hasta and the present like Chandrakala Hasta. A downward fluttering Pataka becomes the flowing Janhavi, while its upward movement invokes the celestial Akasha Ganga. Yamuna, also called Surjaya, is represented by the stylized Rekha Hasta. The river Krishna flows through the fierce elegance of the Simhamukha Hasta, while Chatura Hasta brings out the grace of the river Kaveri. A downward facing Pataka too symbolizes her movement. River Saraswati is often shown with a blend of Pataka and Chatura Hastas. Narmada's gentle yet potent nature is depicted through the Ardhapataka Hasta. Also with twin Pataka hands tracing circular paths is a gesture associated with her timeless rhythm. Tungabhadra river appears in the subtle grace of Hamsasya Hasta. For Netravati river, it is the pointed Suchi Hasta, while Chandrabhaga river through the moving Pataka gesture. The Alapadma Hasta captures the charm of the river Sarayu, while the Arada Hasta signifies Bhimarati river. River Suvarnamukhi finds form in the Ardhachatura, Papanashini in the Shukatunda and river Reva in a Pataka. The Godavari's vast expanse is seen in a wide, downward moving Pataka, while river Krishnaveni shown through Simhamukha. Finally, the Banahasta speaks for river Sharavati. These gestures are not arbitrary. They are used in the flowing grace, power and sanctity of each river. These river-inspired hastas have been artistically woven into a distinctive choreographic form called Nadi Alaripu. This composition draws from both tradition and innovation. It is presented as Bharatanatyam composition Alarippu, serving as an invocatory piece, which means blossoming of a flower. In this rendition, however, the salutation is offered honoring her flow, her grace and her sacred presence in our life.
Kitta kitta takatei, taktei, kitta kitta takatam, hittam, kitta kitta takatei, tattei, kitta kitta takatam, hittam, kita kita taka tei tattei kita kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei kita taka tam dhita tei tattei tam dhita kita taka tam dhita tei kita tam dhittam kitatakatai dhittai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai takitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai tatikitakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattakunthati kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattakunthati kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam tattai kitatakatam dhittam tattai kitatakatam dhittam tattai kitatakatam dhittam tai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tam dhittam kitatakatai tam dhittam kitatakatai tai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakatam dhittam kitatakatai tattai kitatakat dhitta hatacham tati kitataka dhitta hatacham tati kitataka tat dhitta hatacham taka dhitta hatacham tadhinginatum tadhinginatum tadhingarigadum tadhinginatum tadhingarigadum kitatakatargadum tam dhittam tam dhrigataka 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 taka taka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka dhrigataka taka dhrigataka dhrigataka taka taka dhaldangu taka dhigo kitatakatargadum 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 tam tei 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 yum tak tattam kitataka taka tei 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 yum tak tattam takitataka tam.
At every point where the human body, composed of the 5 elements, intersects with nature, there lies water, and often a river too. In this confluence, the river embodies grace and becomes a profound symbol of spiritual depth. Since the Vedic era, our land, Bharata, has celebrated the sacred essence of rivers, be it through hymns like the Apa Sukta, Nadi Sukta, Aghamarshana Sukta, with verses such as
आपोहिष्ठामयो भुवस्तान ऊर्जे दधातना महेरणाय चक्षसे यो वशिवतमो रसस्तस्य भाजयते हनः उशतीरिव मातरः.
Kalasha Snāna, the ritualistic bathing of the sacred pot, is an integral part of our tradition and is performed prior to all auspicious ceremonies, whether it is a wedding, Upanayana or any other sacred rite. During Kalasharchana and Kalasha Snāna, our tradition upholds a profound symbolic belief. With every drop of water poured into the Kalasha, the divine essence of sacred rivers is invoked and infused, sanctifying the ritual with nature's spiritual presence. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhim Kuru. O Ganga, O Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu and Kaveri, may your divine presence sanctify this water. A Vedic ritual called Udaka Shanti, in which water becomes a medium of sanctity, purifying both the self and the space around. In the Purvaranga Vidhi of Natya, the Sutradhara, that means stage manager or main performer, enters with Pariparshvakas to the stage carrying a kalasha and performs Achamana, Punyaha Vachana and Prokshana, sprinkling of the sacred water contained in the kalasha. This act consecrates the stage, purifies the space and invokes divine presence, linking the ritual of performance to the spiritual sanctity of the river water. It is even speculated that the Natya Rishi Bharata may have lived near the serene river banks of Himalayas. According to his own narration, following the birth of Natya, which was in its earliest form valorous and predominantly performed by his hundreds of sons, Thus, Lord Brahma created Kaishiki Vritti, a style that was delicate, graceful, and steeped in the essence of Sringara Rasa. And it is none other than Lord Shiva, the supreme deity of dance, who is declared by Bharata Muni as the eternal source of inspiration for this Kaishiki Vritti. To embody the gentle, flowing spirit of Kaishiki, 24 celestial nymphs, that means Apsaras, were created. They became the very personification of elegance and fluidity in movement. The word Apaha means water and Sar means to flow. Just as water flows effortlessly, filling and shaping itself to its surroundings, the Nartaki or female dancer is one who moves with the same grace, curvature and rhythm. In this way, the Nartaki is like the river herself, unbound, expressive and ever-flowing. Thus, the Apsara becomes the living embodiment of both water and dance, a divine expression of motion and beauty. Thus, in waters, we glimpse our soul's reflection, a mirror of change, of silence, of connection. Natyashastra also mentions the distinct and stylized movement pattern Nadi Pindibhandha, which is dedicated to the river and attributed to Lord Varuna, the deity of water and flow. But even today, India worships its rivers as living goddesses, a mother, a divine woman flowing through the land and through memory. Each river carries her own story, sorrow, song, and sacred essence. This deep reverence has inspired countless artistic offerings. One such is the composition Kaveri Kauta, a poetic celebration of the graceful flow of the river Kaveri, honoring her beauty, her spirit, and her timeless presence, presented in the form of a Kouta, a traditional dance of India.
Tadhinam, tanadhinam, dhinadhina tanadhinam, tadim dhin tadim. Kamale kamalasana jate, Kavera kanye kadamba kalhara hare. Kamale kamalasana jate, Kavera kanye kadamba kalhara hare. Kamale kamalasana jate, Kavera kanye kadamba kalhara hare. Kamale kamalasana jate, Kavera kanye kadamba kalhara hare.
The rivers of India are sacred entities, revered as divine pathways to moksha, that is liberation. For millennia, Indian thought has held that immersion in the holy waters of a river cleanses one of all sins, offering spiritual purification and release.
Vimale vimala pravahini, Meda vedya vishuddha हृदये वरप्रदे विमले विमलप्रवाहिनि वेदवेद्य विशुद्ध हृदये वरप्रदे विमले विमलप्रवाहिनि वेदवेद्य विशुद्ध हृदये वरप्रदे वरकलशे अभये वनसुगामिनिगे वलन विशारदे ऋषिवधुवे वरकलशे अभये वनसुगामिनिगे वलन विशारदे ऋषिवधुवे वरकलशे अभये वनसुगामिनिगे वलन विशारदे ऋषिवधुवे.
Countless Puranic stories speak of the redemptive power of rivers, illustrating their role not only in sustaining life but in uplifting the soul.
ऋतरुजु साधकी ऋण विमोचकी हरिपद रमणि सुरम्य तीरे ऋतरुजु साधकी ऋण विमोचकी हरिपद रमणि सुरम्य तीरे ऋतरुजु साधकी ऋण विमोचकी हरिपद रमणि सुरम्य तीरे.
The Natyashastra, in its chapter on Avanadha Vadya Nirmana, the crafting of percussion instruments, finds its inspiration in water. It is the story of sage Swati. One rainy day, the sage found himself by the riverside. As he watched raindrops fall gently onto lotus leaves, he was captivated by the delicate rhythmic sounds they created. From this moment of quiet inspiration emerged instruments like the mridanga, maddala, dhamaru, bhere and many such. On one side, the deep, resonant rhythms of these percussion instruments, on the other, the playful flutter of lotus leaves and the graceful, endless flow of the river. What a vivid contrast! A delicate offering meets the dignified gait of rhythm.
Rimani sari, mamani sari, sari ma sari ni Kaveri. Ni 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 sari mani sari, mamani sari ni rimani mani sari ni rishi shariri. Rimani sari, mamani sari, sari ma sari ni Kaveri.
When you connect with the river, life transforms into music. This is no casual observation. With deep intention, the Natyashastra tells us what moves with nada. The voice of every instrument echoes the spirit of flowing, dripping water. Thus, the river is a story in motion, a lesson in grace. It teaches us to bend, to yield, to grow, to flow with time wherever it may go.
Nata kita tadinta tarunta natomta kitamta dikkita 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 tam tatum tatum dikkita dikkita tam natum tatum dikkita dikkita tam natum tatum dikkita dikkita tam natum tatum dikkita dikkita tam dikkita dikkita tam dikkita dikkita tam.
Indian rivers have served as a wellspring of inspiration, not only for traditional performing arts but also for contemporary expressions. Among these, Indian cinema stands at the forefront of this creative continuum. In many ways, cinema today has become a modern stage for the timeless principles of the Natyashastra. It too seeks to reflect and preserve the sacred bond between Nadi and Natya, capturing their shared essence of movement, emotion and transcendence. Let us revisit some iconic river-themed songs from the Kannada film industry.
ದೇವರನ್ನು ತಣಿಸಿ ಬಾ, ದಿಗ್ದಿಗಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಣಿಸಿ ಬಾ, ಬಾರೆ ಬಾ ತಾಯಿ ಇಳಿದು ಬಾ. ಕಾವೇರಿ ನೀ ಬೆಡಗಿನ ವೈಯಾರಿ, ಕಾವೇರಿ ನೀ ಒಲವಿನ ಸಿಂಗಾರಿ. ಕಾವೇರಮ್ಮ ಕಾಪಾಡಮ್ಮ, ಈ ದೋಣಿಯ ತೇಲಿಸು, ಆ ತೀರವ ಸೇರಿಸು. ನಾದಮಯ ಏ ಲೋಕವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೊಳಲಿಂದ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಆನಂದ ತಂದಿರಲು, ನದಿಯ ನೀರು ಮುಗಿಲ ಸಾಲು ಮುರಳಿಯ ಸ್ವರದಿ ಬೆರೆತು ಚಲನೆ ಮರೆತು ನಿಂತಿರಲು. ಕಾವೇರಿ ಸಿರಿ ಕನ್ನಡ ನಾಡಲು ಸಿಂಗಾರ ಮಾಡವೇ, ಹಸಿರಿಂದ ಬಾಳೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂಗಾರ ಮಾಡವಳೆ. ಕನ್ನಡ ನಾಡಿನ ಜೀವನದಿ ಕಾವೇರಿ, ಓ ಜೀವನದಿ ಈ ಕಾವೇರಿ. ಅನ್ನವ ನೀಡುವ ದೇವನದಿ ಈ ವೈಯಾರಿ, ಓ ದೇವನದಿ ಈ ವೈಯಾರಿ.
Rivers are the ancient thread that connects us to the contemporary world. Civilizations have risen and fallen. Many things have perished, but not the rivers. They endure as timeless symbols of movement, continuity, and living presence. Be it the physical body visible to the world, Karana Sharira, or the subtle body of senses, mind, and intellect that transcends lifetimes, Sukshma Sharira, both share a deep and intrinsic connection with the river. That is why our bond with water is eternal. This relationship is not just material, it is ancient, divine, and spiritual. Every living being is born with an inescapable depth to the river, the Nadi Rina, the river's dew. What stirs within us mirrors what stirs in the vastness beyond. To understand the river is, in essence, to understand ourselves. In its shimmering waters, we catch a glimpse of our own truth, a mirror to the soul, where time, emotion, and existence flow together as one. The river speaks in silence, telling stories not with words but through its movement. Stories of birth and loss, of longing, surrender, and renewal. Just as a dancer moves through space with intention and rhythm, the river flows across the land, shaping, sanctifying, and giving life at every step. The dancer's body, pulsing with rhythm, breath, and grace, is a universe in miniature. In the greater cosmos, the river mirrors this role, flowing, shaping, giving life. With its bends and bursts, its silt and stories, the river becomes a reflection of the human spirit, bearing memory, embodying motion, and ultimately surrendering to something far beyond itself. What we find in the dancer is echoed in the graceful choreography of the river's flow. In both there is movement. In both there is meaning. In both there is rasa, flowing, unfolding, eternal. Both are sacred journeys. One is the reflection of the other. Nadi and Natya, timeless, sacred, and eternal.
ನಿನ್ನ ಜೋಳು ಜೋಳು ನಾದ ಮೊರೆ ತರಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಕಿವಿಗಳು ತುಂಬಲಿ. ನನ್ನ ಕಿವಿಗಳು ತುಂಬಲಿ. ನಿನ್ನ ಬೆಳ್ಳೋರೆ ಕೊಡುವ ಮುತ್ತನು ನೋಡಿ ಕಂಗಳು ಸವಿಯಲಿ. ನಿನ್ನ ಶೀತಲ ತಂಪು ಕಂಪಿಸೆ ದೇಹದವನಿಯ ನುಡಿಗಲಿ. ನೀನು ನೆಲೆಸುವ ನನ್ನ ನಾಲಿಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ದನಿಯನು ಹಾಡಲಿ. ಉಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ಹಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ನೀನೇ ಆಗುವ ನನ್ನೊಳು. ಉಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ಹಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ನೀನೇ ಆಗುವ ನನ್ನೊಳು. ಉಸಿರು ದನಿಯಲಿ ಕಣ್ಣು ಕಿವಿಯಲಿ ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ಉಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ಹಸಿರು ನಿನ್ನದು ನೀನೇ ಆಗುವ ನನ್ನೊಳು. ಉಸಿರು ದನಿಯಲಿ ಕಣ್ಣು ಕಿವಿಯಲಿ ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು. ದೇಹವುಲಿಯಲಿ